trauma means different things to different people. I think the trauma I experienced during my childhood came more so from social groups and came more so from friends and from school.
When you think of trauma, you think like a big event, you know, like especially like physical abuse, right? But these are just like small interactions that you guys have had throughout your lives that have made a huge impact.
For sure.
And like not addressing it like when you're a child, and then it just like builds up as you go into your adolescence and into your teenage years, and it becomes a part of your identity.
Being Tahimic, not knowing how to defend myself, not knowing how to navigate emotion, so just always came out in tears.
It's sometimes hard to notice the signals, and I actually didn't realize it until I saw a pamphlet that said, does this happen to you? Does this happen to you? Does this happen to you?
Wow.
And all the answers were yes. And I was like, wait a second. Am I in an abusive relationship?
I recently shared my miscarriage story on social media, which was really hard. But man, I don't remember any of my titas, any of my lolas talking about infertility, miscarriages, pregnancy loss.
So I think domestic violence for me was a big one. I'm still currently dealing with the after effects and the residue of that. And it only showed up when I started having healthy relationships around me.
Yeah.
Because it doesn't show up when you have shitty people around you. Excuse my language, but there's no better word for that.
Hey everybody, you got Jada.
I'm Kai.
Tita Mickey.
Jess.
And we are calling on Boss Babaes and Creative Kabayan.
It is my favorite time of the week. It's Tita break time.
Yeah, where we redefine what it means to be a tita.
And you know what? I think I actually don't have to tell you to like and subscribe this week, because I feel like you listened to me last week. But just in case you forgot or you missed it, it is time to hit the like and subscribe button.
Listen to her. She won't stop.
So you don't miss anything important or really cool coming up. So appreciate you. Thanks. Wait,
Listen
sorry.
to Mickey
Is this the right one? Did I do it?
I don't know how to do that one.
That one's so hard. I feel
It's
like I
so
start
hard. No,
glitching.
it hurts my fingers. It's not comfortable. I don't know who
Beer
made that
claw.
up. Why did it?
And I feel like I have to think
I have to think
okay,
so
first this
hard.
one down, second
It's
right.
like when you make the snake with your hands. You know, like the snake
Oh, I could never do
for
that
elementary
one.
school. You
I
guys didn't do
remember
that.
that. I
The
couldn't
snake?
do it.
How do we do blood?
I can spell
Yeah.
blood. For all our Scarborough girlies.
It's hard. Guys.
It looks like okay.
It does look like a snake. I'll
Oh,
show you later.
man.
I could do the dog in the shadow, but anyways.
I can do it better.
Yeah.
Invite us to your parties. Okay.
All right, guys. Well, we are so happy to have you guys join us. You know, the Tita crew, we talk about everything.
Gang, gang, gang.
Today, we are going to get a little serious because we're going to talk about something that maybe you don't talk about openly ever. And we want to create that space to have reflection and kind of dig a little bit deeper. So today, our episode is going to be about trauma. And before we go into such a special topic, we thought it was important to make sure that we also share the definitions. I think, you know, as adults, there's like this funny stigma that it's like, well, you're an adult now, so you should just be able to speak in front of large crowds and you should just know all the definitions, and you don't want to look dumb, so you don't ask, right? So I, like, right before, just ChatGPT'd a few like a definition, and we want to share that just to kind of set the stage so we know what we're really acknowledging and we're using the right terminology. So trauma is the emotional, psychological, and sometimes physical response to an event or a series of events that overwhelms a person's ability to cope or feel safe. In simple terms, trauma is what happens inside of you as a result of something that felt too much, too fast, or too painful. So what makes something traumatic? This can be something that involves fear, helplessness, or loss of control, threat to safety, whether it be physical or emotional, violation of trust or boundaries, or ongoing stress without relief. So what's important to note here is the fact that trauma is subjective. Two people can experience the same exact event, but only one of them will be traumatized. But that doesn't mean either person is weak or dramatic. So common types of trauma, we have acute trauma, which is a single event, an accident, sudden loss, scary incident. It can also show up as chronic trauma, repeated or ongoing stress. This could be neglect, instability, or bullying. There's complex trauma, which is long-term trauma, often starting early in life, especially within relationships. and these are the two I think we're going to hit a lot today. Intergenerational trauma passed down through families and culture. And then collective or cultural trauma, which is trauma experienced by a group or a community. So how can trauma show up for you? Trauma doesn't always look dramatic. It can show up as just being easily triggered, shut down, which I'm sure we all have experienced. Anxiety, numbness, constant alertness, trouble trusting people, strong emotional reactions that feel out of proportion, avoidance of certain topics, places, or feelings. Again, before we start, a key thing to remember is that trauma is not the event itself, it's the lasting impact that event on your nervous system, emotions, and your sense of safety. And healing does not mean forgetting what happened. It means regaining choice, safety, and connection in your body and in your life.
Wow, that was so well said.
Oh man, no, it was deep. I was like, I just did a quick search on the definition and reading it. I was like, whoa, like we're going to get really deep today, So what is our Filipino phrase of the day?
So I'm going to go with our Tagalog phrase. Let's go with the second one here that says, may halaga ang nararamdaman mo. I hate those long words.
It's because
the spaces. Where's the spaces?
Where's the spaces? Yeah. Anyways, what I'm trying to say is your feelings are valid. And just to kind of piggyback off what Jada said is like the experience and how you feel after the situation is always valid. And you don't get, and no one else gets to dictate how you feel or experience a particular situation.
So. I think that's a large one too, because I feel like being seen, being heard is just as important to move forward.
Yeah.
So yes, your feelings are valid, and in Bisaya, it's importante ang imong gibati.
Wow, that sounds so
Okay,
good.
I gotta try both. So I'll go back to
That
the Tagalog.
first one though.
Yeah. May halaga ang naraman. Nope.
Sorry, I don't.
May halaga ang naramdaman mo. I butchered that. Naramdaman mo.
Naramdanam.
May halaga ang naramdaman mo.
And then, importante ang imong gabate.
Gabati?
Gabati?
Yeah.
But yeah, feelings are valid.
Yeah.
That's a really good one.
And maybe
Good choice.
before we head out to our break, like the space, and as we're having conversation, it might feel uncomfortable, and we want to put disclaimers. We don't know how deep we're going to get into it, but I invite you to sit in this space, even though you are feeling a little weird, and ask yourself why you're feeling that way, and maybe address some trauma that you haven't addressed. So we're with you. This is a community.
I love that.
You're watching this hopefully in the safety of your own home, the comfort of your home. So like dive in deep with us, and hopefully it brings you some comfort.
Buckle up, buckos.
BRB.
Here we go. Welcome back, everybody. So today we're talking about trauma, and we're going to start at home, in our childhood. So what are some traumatic experiences that you guys remember in your Filipino household? It can stem anywhere from emotional neglect all the way down to financial instability. So like, are some things kind of jumping up for you guys?
Financial instability pops up for me. I lived a very full childhood. Again, my parents did an amazing job of giving us experiences, but yeah, there were moments. I think there's just that understanding of hey, you can't get everything that you want, or maybe seeing what other families or kids have, and then playing that compare game. And then in terms of verbal or emotional neglect, love my parents. My parents were great. I did have one tita who was she was the tita that was we're kids, but it's when you're in her house, you can't run, you can't play, don't be too loud. So I feel that feeling of just don't move, don't say, don't that. It's, I don't know, maybe it's but to me it was traumatizing. I have a core memory of I dropped, I scraped my knee, I'm bawling my eyes out, I'm a kid and I don't know what to do, and I'm kind of just I'm waiting for an adult to show up, and she was the adult that showed up, and my girl looked at me, looked down, first of all, scoffed, and walked off. And I was
No way.
yeah, you know what I mean? So it was, I don't know what, and I'm super random. You guys know I have squirrel brain. Those were the first things that I just kind of thought of, that I was things that kind of happened to me. And it wasn't thankfully it was nothing too crazy, but I think those are things that happened to me that would then affect how you act, right, around adults or, just out in public and stuff?
I think my first memory of trauma, and it's actually not something that I personally remember. It's something that was told on me. I started school in the Philippines. So in the Philippines at that time, it was very strict. So like they would check your fingernails, they would check your ears, like they would check a lot of things. I don't know what happened, but I think I was reprimanded for, I can't remember which one, but my mom told me that I was traumatized at like 4 years old because they had slapped me on the wrist. And I brought that into Canada when I moved here. And that's why going to school was so terrifying and why my mom had to stay with me. And it was only until like obviously comfortability and like creativity entered the room that she could then leave and get a job as a new immigrant. But yeah, that was one of the first things. It was, I guess, I don't want to say gentle abuse, but like abuse that came from someone that you did not trust, So yeah.
It's hard because trauma means different things to different people. I think the trauma I experienced during my childhood came more so from social groups and came more so from friends and from school, and which is why I talk all the time about like my social anxiety. And I'll be so for real, like my cultural identity has been a source of trauma for me growing up because I never felt fully accepted by either culture. This didn't happen in childhood, but I told you and Jess about it, Jada, about the time I was traveling overseas and I was in Singapore and I was on a cruise ship. And then there was a lot of like Filipino staff on the cruise ship, right? And so like my server, he was Filipino, so I was like, oh, salamat. And he's asking me, he's like, oh, like how do you know Tagalog? How do you know? I was like, oh, I'm Filipino. And he looked me in my face. He's like, no, you're not. And I was like, okay, yeah, I am. He's like, no, but like, how do you know Filipino? Where are you from? I'm like, oh, I'm from Toronto. And he's like, oh, so you have like just Filipino friends. That's how you know. And I'm like, no, I'm Filipino. And he's like, my dad's Filipino. And it's like, I felt like I was fighting to prove my identity to somebody, which is, again, also why this podcast is really important to me. But consistently, being a mixed race, it's very hard to actually figure out where you fit in. And even with social groups at school, in the high school that I went to, it was predominantly Caucasian. And because I'm obviously Black presenting, I remember like when grade 9, someone came up to me and they were like, oh, like, do you sit in Cafrica? And I'm like, what's Cafrica? And Cafrica was this one lunch table in our cafeteria where all the Black people sat.
That's crazy.
And it wasn't intentional segregation, but you know how your culture just like finds each other. So then they actually termed it Cafrica. And I'm in grade 9, I'm like, what is Cafrica? What's going on? So it's like, I always felt like people tried to pinhole me into certain categories or certain cultures, or deny me of my actual culture. So I would say that holds a place of trauma for me, and that also stems where a lot of my social anxiety comes from, because like I'm afraid to put myself out there in fear of being rejected or being not accepted or having to prove to somebody I am what I say that I am. So for years I was just withdrawn. I don't initiate conversations. I don't initiate relationships, and I'm just like, you know what, I'll keep to myself. So it's a lot easier for me that way to try and fight and combat all these other social norms that other people impose on me.
Wow.
Yeah.
Thanks for sharing.
It's so interesting listening to each of your stories because it isn't like big, like when you think of trauma, you think like a big event, you know, like especially like physical abuse, right? But these are just like small interactions that you guys have had throughout your lives that have made a huge impact.
For sure.
And like not addressing it like when you're a child, and then it just like builds up as you go into your adolescence and into your teenage years, and it becomes a part of your identity. And I think people don't realize that about trauma. It's not just like something happens, you deal with it. No, it's with you forever. And sometimes you go through it, you don't even realize it until later on when you're seeking help and counsel, or you have moments like I love your segment when you're talking about your social anxiety and walking through people like your process, because it doesn't come to you at once and it doesn't heal at once. It's just like this ongoing journey with everything. And like when I think about my childhood, it's actually like having young parents and having cousins who are older, like 5-6 years older. I was always around like older people. And I was always the youngest one, so I was always being exposed to things that were like a little bit too mature for me. And at the time you're so cool, right? You're like, oh, I get to see like my cousins and like hang out with my parents' friends. But then you realize that subconsciously they're exposing you to things that you're not supposed to be exposed to at that age. And nothing was ever harmful, but just like language, seeing like a movie you're not supposed to see. Oh my gosh, that's so bad. My grandma, sorry, grandma, she snuck us in to watch Debbie Moore striptease.
Oh,
and we were like,
wow, Lola.
Really? I want to say like the grandkids were between like maybe like 8 and 11.
No.
Yeah.
And like I don't think she realized it was gonna. Sorry, I'm
She's
so
like,
sorry,
"I love
Grandma.
Debbie
She
Moore."
doesn't watch this. I love you so much. I know it wasn't an intentional thing.
Yeah.
But again, right? Good. Like in your head, you're just like, oh, I want to go to watch a movie. I mean,
yeah.
out of all movies in the world, why would you take us to that one?
Yeah.
But
No, for
right,
sure.
like. And I guess like it was harmful, but yeah, having all those little tiny experiences as kids, and then realizing later that you matured so fast, and then when you're standing beside your peers and like your brain just like thinks about things differently.
Yeah.
And you're in this weird predicament where you're like a teenager, but you're like kind of over sexualized, but you don't see it as a bad thing until something's happening, and like your friends are like, "Oh, that's gross," and you're like, oh, I thought that was normal.
Yeah.
Right? And then how that translated into me dating and how I had my relationships with other people, right? So I think that was a very quiet trauma I didn't realize until going through therapy and talking to much later. Too late, I would say.
I'm gonna
Never
say,
too late.
So part of the I kind of had like a piggyback thought. So aside from being told you can't be loud, you can't play, don't mess around, don't disturb anything. So I took that into school, and I totally had a bully, and I didn't know how to defend myself. I didn't know how to talk. So anytime there was any kind of friction, tears, bawling. I don't know how to speak for myself. And I even remember then also with the Filipino culture, I remember this one girl was like, why are you like this? Why are you like just harping in on me? And this like little Catholic Filipino girl's like, this is how God made me. And then she like totally, and then like, I think I asked her something else, and I was like, well, why are you being so mean? And she's like, well, that's how God made me. And it like threw it back in my face, which continued to even more about,
Sorry,
you know what
my
I mean?
internal dialogue is like, give me names.
So thanks, Fred. And with that, so that's from the school, but that totally translated into my adulthood. That's why I like to be behind the scenes. I don't like, I will do the work. I'll do whatever you want. Just don't put me in front of the spotlight, which is like so ironic that now we all have a freaking TV show and podcast.
Literally,
But when I
so
tell you,
bright.
like the anxiety I have to talk in front of people, like it has taken so much for me to work through and get here. I still get freaking nervous before recording these episodes. Like I was literally like jumping, I do jumping jacks. Like you guys, sometimes like, I just have so much energy, but like these are all tips and tricks that I've had to learn along the way, and taking it into the corporate world where you can also be a woman of color in a boardroom of older white men. Like it's a lot, you know, and it's just, I'm blessed for where I'm at, but as we have this conversation, it's like, it's crazy to think how, yes, small things, these small events, these small interactions can just like spread into bigger things that like you have to deal with. That's a you problem. And if you don't figure it out and you don't have the awareness with you, that could be a lifelong problem, you know, like.
Or it could be a lifelong catalyst.
Or, hey.
Because
Flip it.
live it.
Think about it.
Perspective is a huge thing with trauma too.
Yeah.
Perspective.
Yeah, for
but
sure.
obviously we'll get into that. I'm so proud of you, friend.
Yeah.
Thanks. All right, we're gonna take a break. Let's take a breather. Go get a snack. Go get a drink. Go to the washroom. We'll be right back.
Do a jumping jack like Jada.
Welcome back, y'all. Tita Salita. We are talking about trauma today. And before we even just continue this segment, life be lifing. So this is going to be my last segment for this episode, but you are in good hands with these three as we continue to talk about such an important topic. So the next thing we want to talk about is that trauma in womanhood and how that shows up. I know everybody.
How much time do we
take
have?
a breath. Take a breath. We're about to get deep. So as adult women, what do you think is the most traumatic experiences that surprised you the most? This can be anything from domestic violence, pregnancy loss, miscarriages, infertility, toxic relationships, workplace trauma, or burnout. This one's crazy, yo. I don't even know where to start.
As a DV survivor, I think that, especially in Filipino rooms, it's often conversations we don't have. It's a lot easier to just be tahimik and not say anything and not share your story. So that would be a big one. And I think sometimes you think you're over it.
Yeah.
I think you think that you've moved past it and you tell yourself a story of, I forgive them, I forgive me, I'm stronger because of it. That's not going to happen to me anymore. But then it shows up in your relationships. It shows up in your dynamics. It shows up in how you try to control things. It shows up in how you often feel like you have to be heard when there's no debate or argument. It's just your need to feel heard because you were so silenced for so long. So I think domestic violence for me was a big one. I'm still currently dealing with the after effects and the residue of that. And it only showed up when I started having healthy relationships around me. Because it doesn't show up when you have shitty people around you. Excuse my language, but there's no better word for them. I think when you have healthy friendships, healthy relationships, healthy partners, that's when it truly shows up because then it becomes a mirror on the things that you haven't necessarily healed from. So
It's like a test almost, right?
Yeah.
I think what surprised me the most is I was actually in an abusive relationship for 5 years. It was emotionally abusive at first. It also got physically abusive as well. But I think what surprised me is that I've always had such confidence. Like my family has done a very good job of raising like a good foundation for me. And I grew up with so much love, so much support, so much compassion. So when I got into this relationship, I actually didn't know how to identify the symptoms of abuse, right? I was like, because I've only known love my whole life, I just assumed that in everybody else. Like it didn't occur to me that people can be vindictive. It didn't occur to me that people can be manipulative because I've never experienced that. And I didn't know how to look out for that. So now that I'm in this relationship, he's showing me the love, he's showing me the compassion, again, the love I'm used to expecting my whole life. And then there were the moments that got emotionally abusive, and I kind of forgave them. And I was like, because then it was always followed up with the love and the compassion right after. And I'm like, oh, okay, no, he still loves me. Oh, okay, no, he still cares. Like, we're just having arguments, whatever. And I kept making excuses for a long time. Even when it did get physically abusive, I would be like, okay, well, I antagonized him. I egged him on, right? I was like, okay, there was always reasonings or rationales of how it got that way. Again, even though that was never the household I was raised in. So it was so unexpected, especially now looking back. Like, I'm really disappointed in myself, genuinely, for allowing it to happen for that long. Sorry.
you're like talking my soul right now.
And exactly what you said, because now in the marriage that I'm in right now, I'm realizing how much that person dimmed my light. He would get upset at things, like he would get upset for how much time I was spending with my family. And I didn't notice the fact, but I guys know I moved out to Edmonton. He was the reason I moved out to Edmonton. And looking back, is like he did that intentionally to remove me from my family and from my support system, so that in Edmonton I can only depend on him. It's him and only him, right? So that's a big key indicator of abuse, is they want to isolate you and they want to be your sole provider and sole source of comfort, so you depend on them. And he always hated that. He always said, you don't need me, like you don't depend on me. And I'm like, I don't need you. I was like, I like you, I want to be with you, but I don't need you. And that was a big argument. But there's a lot of things about me, like he would complain that I would sing all the time in the car. He's like, do you have to sing every song? And I was like, bro, I like singing. And he's like,
can I be happy?
Or he's like, oh, like you're always dressing a certain way, you're always like looking this, you're always looking for attention. And I'm like, bro, like I don't know. Like, what do you? I'm just
being you.
I'm just being
Literally.
me. But there are so many nitpicking small things. And again, like you said about the small micro traumas, there's a bunch of small things that added up. And even now, like I'm working through it, and I'm very, very appreciative for the supportive husband that I have now, because he's actively trying to pull me out. And I genuinely feel like I get to be myself again. So. Very appreciative. But what I'm meaning to say with this is that it's sometimes hard to notice the signals, and I actually didn't realize it until I saw a pamphlet that said, does this happen to you? Does this happen to you? Does this happen to you? And all the answers were yes. And I was like, wait a second. am I in an abusive relationship? And it took me 4 years to realize that, only because I saw a pamphlet in my doctor's office and I read the questions. I was like, oh my
crazy,
God,
yeah.
it's yes to all of these things.
Because we grew up so trusting.
I grew up so,
loved.
trusting. Grew up so loved. I only know love, and I only know how to give
Same.
love.
Like when we were entering that first segment, I was like, I had such a full childhood.
Yeah.
So I like totally mirror everything you're
Right?
saying.
And then people always say, it's like, okay, well, you get in abusive relationships because that's how you were raised. That's what you know. That's not true.
No, not true.
That I didn't know.
Yeah.
And I got tricked because I didn't know what to look for. So I think it is important to have these open conversations because, again, I didn't see it growing up. So I didn't know the things to look for. So it can literally happen to anybody at any time.
Yeah.
I just want to touch too. I think there's like this narrative that like abuse can only happen to weak women.
Yeah.
Like
Not true.
I was a happy child, a child that sang, a child like I was a cool kid, like all the things. So
My apologies.
I just want to let you know, like if you've gone through it or you are going through it or you think you can't go through it, there is no category where it can't happen to you. Or so just be kind when someone is sharing their story. I just want to like label that, like believe them when they say, like if someone is strong enough to share their story, like believe them.
Like, and it's interesting because I think that when you're hearing it, the first things in your mind are like to be judgmental, right? But even with that, like, I didn't have the same childhood that you guys had, but I think that when you experience abuse, you unintentionally mirror it all of a sudden to people who really care about you.
Absolutely.
So I definitely did that. But I mean, while we're going through this list, I'm like, check. Right. So it's hard to pick one to talk about. But like, I recently shared my miscarriage story on social media, which was really hard. But man, I don't remember any of my titas, any of my lolas talking about infertility, miscarriages, pregnancy loss. Like, and I would love to normalize that because the strength that comes from trying again or deciding not to try, that is something that needs to be celebrated and acknowledged because putting your headspace into trying to have a child is such a traumatic experience to begin with. And like, I lost my child like when, it was on Christmas Eve, which is such a special day. But what had happened is that I was just cramping and then, I knew something was wrong and you're just kind of waiting for it. But how it had happened was like, I literally went to the washroom and the baby just like fell out of me. So it's like, it literally looked like a red marble and there was like already bleeding. And they say like to keep it for like research, but like it was just processing. Like I literally like I feel like when it's happening and you're bleeding, like you don't see anything, but like to physically see like a part of you like leave your body, it was like when I think back to it and like it's so hard for me to describe to my husband and to get him to know how I'm feeling, but like every Christmas I get sad. But then I'm also met with the love that came from like my son now because I wanted to try again. But just hearing so many times when I share that story, how many women I know who are like, oh my gosh, I had one too.
Yeah.
And it's so
prevalent, and
so crazy.
I really hate the stigma that you're not supposed to tell anybody before 3 months in case anything happens, right? But I think it's actually important that you people do know, and so that they know that you're grieving, right?
Yes.
So imagine now going to work and carrying on your day. You're grieving such this intense loss, and nobody knows about it, and you have to pretend like everything's okay. That's exhausting.
Exhausting.
Yeah.
And even in like the Filipino community, like if we don't talk to it about like with our titas and stuff, like I just don't understand why we're not going to talk about that and why we downplay things. And I know JD I'm just going to touch on this because I feel like it's like a huge one. But like when we talk about domestic violence, even like sexual assault, like, you know, like I'm a survivor of that too. And I didn't realize I was like that had happened to me until therapy. And my therapist is like, do you understand that? And it was a family friend. I was young. I would think I was like 10 or 11. And I trusted this person. And I don't even think this person knows what they had done, like to think it was wrong. But then when I was telling my elders, eventually when I was trying to heal and ask them about it, and, you know, I was angry when I approached them because I'm like, this was happening to me. Like, how can you guys not know? But it wasn't their fault. And their response was, oh, that happened to you? You don't think that happened to me?
What?
And it was the most demoralizing feeling, not just for myself, but for my elder, to be like, I wanted to be so sad and cry for them and be like, that's not normal. Like Tita, Lola, that's not normal, and don't normalize it for yourself so that you can not feel guilty because it happened to me.
Yeah.
But like,
Sorry.
I think that it happens to so many women we know, especially back home,
Yeah.
Yeah.
with people
my
they
God,
know, and they
yes.
don't talk about it.
Yeah.
And I want to tell them like that wasn't right, and I hope that they're able to deal with their trauma at some point and realize that that is not normal. And now thinking about it, like, do you want that to happen to me? Do you want that to happen to your grandchildren? What if it did? But it's because you didn't have the strength to talk about it when you could. And maybe that could have been preventable if you were willing to share with us your stories.
Yeah.
And it could be a caution tale, not something to say, well, that happened to me too.
Yeah.
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 I'm grateful
gosh.
to have this safe space with you ladies.
Yeah.
And thank you so much for sharing something that is not easy to share. But with sharing this, I can only hope someone on the other side is hearing this message and it brings a thought to you, something for you to dig a little bit deeper. My apologies. Because these are real things that happen very regularly. And we just don't talk about it.
Especially in our community,
Yeah.
Especially
in our culture.
Yeah.
So
So we're going to take a break. Thank you guys so much for joining us. And we'll be right back after this.
Okay, I'm not crying anymore. I'm back. No worries.
Still crying, but we're back.
Okay, so question to the table. When did you guys realizing that healing from your trauma was necessary, not optional?
I can take that away right now.
Yeah.
Remember in our last segment when you're like, you end up showing those same signs and delivering the same abuse. I do this because you don't necessarily think it's abuse. You end up mirroring that kind of behavior or those actions or those words, or just you bring it back to the people you love. And I think it was only around COVID when I met the healthiest person for my personal development, for my personal growth, but also like just a beautiful person all around, where I started realizing how toxic now I was. And I was never the toxic one.
Yeah.
I was never the one that created issues out of thin air. I was never the one that would say the things that you would literally go back and say, did I just say that?
Yeah.
So it was then where I was like, okay, I need to work on myself. Like, because how am I now showing up like the person that hurt me the most? And the irony of that is crazy, because just like you said, I grew up in a household full of love,
Yeah.
full of people that spoke life into me. And how am I now
Allowing
delivering
somebody else to
how am
tear
I
you down.
being such a menace to somebody who is just showing me love?
Yeah.
So what about you guys?
I think like same thing. It's like, so
Is there music playing
I
somewhere?
know it's mood music.
Oh my gosh. I just it's okay. It's okay.
I was like, who put on the lo-fi?
I know, like, whoa, what a moment to come in. That was so nice.
I was like, take it away.
We're here.
Okay, so it was my husband, honestly. So there may have been some overlap in relationship building between my last relationship and this one. A little overlap. But what really sparked it is my husband and I were coworkers. We worked for group home, so we had a lot of shifts together. We're both living in Edmonton, both from Toronto. And we had just started talking. We had started having conversations. What was your life growing up? What do you like? What do you not? And then I realized in that space with him, I felt very comfortable and I felt like I could be myself. I didn't feel like I had to put on a certain mask. I didn't I didn't feel like I had to hide certain parts of
could still
myself.
sing.
I could still. We used to sing together. We would do duets on the car rides when we're driving the clients around. And I was like, wait, this is what it feels like to be myself again. And then having that experience, I was like, I realized again that I was being withdrawn and I was being withheld, because now when I'm being exposed to and again, being isolated from my family, right? My family shows me who I am. Having my husband in my workplace, someone that reminded me of home and allowed me to be genuinely myself, that's what really made me realize, oh, the relationship I'm in is not healthy. And this person is my safe space. This is where I feel the most comfortable, but the most authentic. And he's encouraging that from me. that's really different. So I think when I realized that, I was like, oh, okay, I have to get out of this.
Yes.
And since then, we've continued to grow together with each other, and we also make a very important part of instilling that love and knowledge within our kids as well, right? So I also don't want my kids growing up full of love but being ignorant to what else is out there. So it's intentional to talk and have those conversations and learning with the next generations as well. And therapy helps. Advocate for therapy. Everybody
helps, guys.
Yeah. It really does. Like, I think this is my 3rd or 4th year in therapy, and I'll never stop talking about it because it really did change my life. I love it. I love her. She's such a good therapist. Hi, Roxana. But oh gosh, this is such like a deeply loaded question. I think I noticed that I needed to heal when I realized I was creating barriers for myself. And I was like in this box and I didn't know how to get out of it. And everybody around you who loves you is trying to encourage you and it's constantly telling you like your potential, what they see in you, that you're a good person. But you can't see it in yourself because you're so overwhelmed with all the mistakes that you've made and you're so deeply involved in your trauma. And that's why therapy helped, because it was somebody who didn't know me, who was telling me things that so many people have told me before, but I needed an unbiased opinion.
Yeah, that third party perspective.
Right? And then my husband, I went through so many years of people telling me I wasn't good enough, and that because of my past, who I chose to be with, how I decided to behave, like that I wasn't lovable. And even though my family had loved me, even though I was chaotic and loud and disruptive, I couldn't find like a partner who could love me for that in the way that I wanted to be met. So when I had met him, and he wasn't intimidated by me, and he wanted to see me succeed, and he just saw all these good parts again, it was again unbiased, right? So it's like, wow, if somebody that I've just met who isn't in my circles can see these things about me, maybe there isn't something wrong with me. And that created a really like gentle healing environment for me to just show up. And then throughout my career and all these things that are happening and building a relationship and eventually getting married and having a kid, like all of a sudden I started to feel good things happening to me, but it's just because like I allowed it and I stopped boxing myself in and capping my potential and understanding that like I could have this big, beautiful life if I allowed myself to, and found myself deserving again. So for me,
grateful
yeah,
for that.
I
I'm
think
so
that's
grateful
like
that you
just the
found that.
healing.
And that's a huge one. It's the feeling like you deserve it.
And I know, so we talked about this earlier in the last segment, but like within the Filipino culture, it's very taboo to talk about some of these challenges. It's very taboo to talk about abuse, about sexual abuse, about negative experiences that we've had. So how have you guys found like trying to navigate that as probably one of the first generations in our family that's willing to openly address these concerns? Like, do you guys talk to your parents about them or any of other relatives about the work that you're doing internally around healing from these traumas? I'll start by saying that I don't. So
I do want to shout out my family. My parents, my whole family actually didn't know that I was going through domestic violence, and it was happening for about 3 years. I was already kind of alienated from them, but the day that they found out, which was actually Thanksgiving, was the day that everyone found out. Like I told my mom, we were all at my uncle's house, but it was in the midst of like my ex was TMI maybe, but he was threatening to throw all my stuff out of the house like that we lived in. And I told my mom, I said, can I talk to you upstairs? And I just broke down and I told her everything. And that was the first time she heard it. And as my mother, she went straight into action. She grabbed my dad. She grabbed my siblings. I called my best friend. We all left that family party. We grabbed garbage bags at the grocery store and we all went in there and moved me out that night.
wow.
Yeah. And I remember moving back home and her giving me the space to heal. She didn't
she didn't helicopter me. They just really let me heal in like the gentlest, quietest way.
Yeah.
She didn't ask questions. And then when I was ready to talk about it, she always allowed that space, but she never jumped in. She never tried to force or put it on fast forward. So that obviously helped me heal at a faster pace. But being able to share my story with her, but also it was hard to hear her feel like she might have failed me. Like, how could I have prevented this?
Yeah.
How could I have made sure that this didn't happen to my daughter? Like, what did I not do? And I'm so glad that this episode and the things you're also sharing, because I want her to know that there was nothing that she did wrong. She did everything right.
Yeah.
You know, and sometimes, just like what you're teaching your kids, like the world is full of love, but the world is also full of the complete polar opposite of that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So preparing them, right?
Yeah.
So I think we do talk about it still often now because it still comes up in my behavior. But yeah, just having the conversation and just imagine I felt like I couldn't tell them. And the moment I did, it was like, let's go.
Yeah.
I didn't
Wow.
tell my parents. My husband is actually the one that told them because I'm just really embarrassed, honestly. Like, I'm really embarrassed. I'm really disappointed in myself. I didn't have the courage to be like, hey, I went through this and I allowed this to happen for so long because I genuinely felt like they'd be disappointed. Like, how could you? Like, of course they wouldn't. They're your parents. They're going to be concerned. But I was like, I know better and I know how to make better decisions. So I just felt like, I don't know. I didn't feel confident to be like, hey, I need help dealing with this or working through this because I was just too ashamed of myself to even acknowledge that it happened.
But that also comes from like the grooming of the dynamic we were in, right?
Yeah.
Being ashamed to speak up. Like, then we overcompensate that and bring it into our next dynamics where we're like, no, I can't talk about that. That's no. Like, you always feel like you're in the wrong.
Yeah.
So that is like, you're conditioned almost to think like that. And your parents did a beautiful job with you, just to remind you. But yeah, I think we have to stop blaming ourselves when bad things happen to us.
I think that's most important as well. Like,
Yeah.
so for anybody else, like that, if you feel the same way, like it's not your fault, and you shouldn't blame yourself. And you do, if it's not your parents, if it's not family, like it is important to share it with somebody because you never know in what ways that your community or other people can help you heal or support you. And a lot of people are going to be a lot more supportive than judgmental. And I can say that from experience from friends that have told me that they have went through abusive situations as well. Not one time did I judge them.
Yeah.
Like, we're always our own harshest critics, but I've always
Absolutely.
been like supportive and empathetic. And I've never once felt like, oh, well, you shouldn't have let that happen to you. So I know it's crazy for me to think that someone's going to think that about me, but you know, we can't help it. What can you do?
Conditioned.
I just want to applaud both of you for being like brave enough to talk about it. And it's a huge testimony to like your parents and your families because people can go through the same exact experience you guys are, but if you didn't have the foundation and the support system at home, like you might not even be standing here today.
I wouldn't.
Absolutely not.
Yeah.
I wouldn't.
And like my parents are kind of in the in between. Like I have told them about my trauma, but I think that they're still so like the shame and the guilt is so empowering that they can't fully believe something was happening to me under their nose. So it's like they've acknowledged it, but I don't think it's been like the full impact of how much it's hurt me. Like this person is somebody who still like follows my parents, who isn't actively like in our lives, but like roams around the same circles. So I feel like he hasn't faced the full repercussions of a lot of the actions that he's done. So it's hard to know that there's still somebody out there that's floating around
In
like
your
that,
circles and in your
who has created so much damage in not only my family but others. So I would just say like to parents that like believe your kids when they're trying to tell you something is wrong. Like try to see where they're coming from and don't see it as a way of like I failed as a parent, but more of like my child needs help and I want to be there for them.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we're gonna cry again.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
be right back.
Look who came crawling welcoming back.
Couldn't stay away.
I'm so happy.
Like I said, life be lifing. Things have changed, and now Tita Jada is back, and I'm really happy actually that it worked out like this because I didn't want to miss out on this.
I love this for us.
Yeah.
I do too. So I guess just jumping back into it, these experiences all contribute to the women that we are becoming, the women that we are in this present moment. So how do you guys feel trauma has changed the way you love, you parent, or even like choosing your partners?
Can I be selfish and just mirror that question to you first? How do you think that the things that you've been through has changed you? How do you think it shows up for you?
Yeah, I think, so I referenced just like being Tahimic, not knowing how to defend myself, not knowing how to navigate emotions. So it just always came out in tears. And in a way that like the response from that trauma is like, I can crack a 1-2 joke. I can, be a personality better on like one-on-one, maybe not in front of like a whole room. But then it's like a mask, right? For like avoiding what you really should be addressing. And how that has shown up for me is like, definitely shown up in the partners that I've chose. Because, I can come off depending on who you are or how you've interacted with me. I mean, I could also just be a like huge weirdo to you because I'm like, I have those moments. But like, I've been told it's like, oh, you're so confident or you're this. And it's like, I'm hiding shit, guys. Like, it's all
Right?
a front. And for someone who comes off confident, I would then choose partners that abused me, not physically, thankfully, but like emotionally and mentally, because I never wanted to rock the boat. So then they could talk to me a certain way, or like I would, let verbal abuse go. And I had one partner, like he was someone that was always on and off, super narcissistic. And it's that like, I didn't realize how much I was actually being manipulated. And also learning about myself, like to not put everything like, what's the word that I'm looking for? The term, the potential, falling in love with the potential. I just wanted the best. And I was like, if I'm just like the best girlfriend I can be and I don't cause any issues and like show up, but not realizing that I'm also just getting beaten down and stressed and drained, and then that would all like affect other elements in my life. But that was something I'm still learning, quite frankly. So I'm glad that I've kind of closed that I've closed that chapter with that really toxic relationship, but it comes up in my day-to-day, like for sure, as I date. So yeah.
Thank you for speaking on that, because I think a lot of people think that abuse is limited or not as effective if it's not physical. Like the breaking down actually happens first. They break you down emotionally, spiritually, verbally. All that happens before you even get to the physical. So it does do numbers, long-term damage. And I don't want to say damage, sorry. It does long-term residue in the after effects. So I'm glad you named it, and I'm glad like I feel like sometimes you don't even know how powerful you are and how you really just switch that.
Yeah.
People see you as confident because, Jada, you are confident. You literally
At times,
lead the
at
show,
times.
you know?
Yeah.
So
Yes.
At times.
Yeah, I mean, we're all doing our best, but at the same token, I also don't want to demonize the people that were also doing the abuse. So I also know, like, again, from that partner that I have, I still love him. Like, I still have love for him. I don't hold resentment towards him.
I'm mad on.
Because I know the childhood that he was raised in. I know the household he was raised in. And we were pretty young. Like, we were early 20s. And we're both figuring out life. So I actually don't hold resentment towards him or ill will towards him. I still wish him the best. I hope he's been able to heal from the trauma that he's dealing with, that he inflicted on me. I hope he's able to get a healthy relationship, a healthy marriage, and a healthy family the way I've been able to. I wish that on him. But I can see he was coming from a place of hurt. He did not grow up in a household like I did that was full of love and full of support. So he actually genuinely did not know how to love me properly. It was how he was raised. And like you said, you're mirroring the way that you know.
Yeah.
So I also don't want to put out that narrative that if someone is being abusive towards you or manipulative towards you, they may not even know it at the time. Like they may not be specifically intentional. Some people are, but also some people aren't doing it on purpose.
That's the thing, like not intentional. Like I don't know if this person knows the effect and damage that they have done into the world, but for me, I believe in karma, like right? Like so it's like maybe you won't realize it even in this lifetime, right? But I would just hope for the people who inflict this kind of pain and trauma onto others, like there will be a point in their life, and it might be on their deathbed, right? Like where they realized how much damage they've caused to other people, whether it be intentional or not intentional, if they knew they were doing something right or wrong. But like I think that's my only hope. Like, you know, we talked about Epstein last time, and just like all these terrible things that are happening, like I hope that the people who are inflicting pain are able to recognize it and name it before it's too late. So it can stop.
I felt a responsibility because I knew how shitty his life was. I know he had no support.
Exactly.
So I felt this ownership of like,
I could be the light in your life.
Yes, you know what I mean? And I felt that responsibility, and I thought I could fulfill it. And, you know, if we just got over this tough time, like there's this prize that you're going to get, when in reality, he treats you like shit. He's manipulating you. He is taking advantage of your weak points.
And your kindness and your
and
love.
your kindness, you know? So it's like sometimes you really got to do those self-checks in certain relationships. Like, and, oh man, I had one more point and I totally just lost it. But yeah, no, I felt that responsibility for sure. And I feel so free to not have that ownership anymore. And I feel the exact same. Bro, you're messed up. The way you have stressed my life, but the way I actually still have love for you, the fact that I want you to thrive and be your best self, but I also think you are a prisoner of the trauma that you've experienced. And like straight up, like 2 years ago, like he told me how he was like literally sexually abused by this man who told his mom that like, oh yeah, I'm gonna take care of that, bro. So it's like, I'm blessed to have not had experienced something like that, but I can only imagine. And that's one thing.
Yeah.
And I know what this man has faced in his life.
Big one thing.
Yeah.
And exactly. So, you know, as much as like, yeah, I was able to learn a lot. I wish the best for him. I don't hate you. But yeah, you're not the one, bro.
Yeah.
You're not allowed
That's
in
the
my
thing.
life.
Like you just have to do that healing outside of me. Like I can't help you do
if
that.
you walked away. And I'm happy you said that. Like women are not the only ones facing, you know, sexual abuse. Like, and I encourage men and others, like, and boys to speak up, man. Like, we don't know what you're going through, and that's like men's mental health is not addressed enough. So, I'm happy that that person was able to share that with you, right? But oh, sorry, go.
Yeah, before we end off, like for everyone at the table, like we've learned a lot of lessons in our life and what got us here. Like if there was something that you would say to your younger self, is there anything? Or is it just like we got to go through the motions and figure it out on the way? And I ask this selfishly because like I'm also parenting a daughter. Like I'm parenting my son too, but it's like I don't how do I appropriately prepare her for these things, right? It's like life is lifing. It's going to stay lifing. As a parent, I hope that I can be an open space for her to come to in challenging times. I hope she doesn't feel embarrassment or shame the way that I did. So is there any advice that we can give to our younger selves?
Oh, man.
I will say this because you're talking about motherhood. I think with my mom really allowing me the space to heal, it really made me step up to know that, not that I had to, but I was like, I did it at my own time, and her love definitely showed up in how I pivoted and was able to be resilient through it. And it didn't show up loudly. It just showed up in, you know what? Like I have so much love in my childhood, in my family, and everything that she's instilled in me that there's no other option but to show up for myself. Like, so I think I would just tell myself like I think I know it's cliche, but like just be kind to your mind.
Your mind it could be so savage, like it's like warfare up there sometimes.
Trust me.
Like
All the
literal warfare. So be kind to your mind. It is literally the only place you live that you cannot run away from.
Yeah.
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 That would be my advice.
That's good advice.
I'm crazy up here.
I wish I would even say like anak. Like I wish my mom called me that more. But I would say like trust your intuition. Like let go of your guilt, let go of your shame. If you want to tell somebody who you trust something, just say it out loud. Because whatever we don't know, we can't help. So I would just like encourage like even my daughter, like all the kids out there, like just speak up and share what you're feeling with other people so that you can understand if something's going wrong in your life, because many times we don't even realize it.
Yeah.
That part.
I want to be so profound in this moment because you guys have given such great advice. And I almost feel like I'm like literally unpacking it live as this is just being recorded, because there's like, I went to one therapy session and I brought up some stuff from my childhood, and she was just like, who is an adult that you could go and talk to about anything? And I was like,
Yeah.
I was like, holy shit. Like, I didn't realize. And it's like not a take or a hot take at all the adults in my life. Like, they were like, they have supported me. They've been there for me. But I guess from like, being able to have that one adult where it's like, I can tell you anything and not feel judged.
Yeah.
A reality is I felt like I didn't have that. And then also it's like our parents were like always working. So it's like, and I'm the oldest, I'm the ate. So you just have to be the strongest and have the answers. And when something happens, it's you jumping in. So it's like there's that identity of like, I just got to figure it out. Yeah. So I guess if I was to give my younger self advice, whoa, I was about to cry. First of all, I want to hug her and tell her that like everything's going to be fine. Nothing's going to break you. And like maybe, try journaling.
Yeah.
If you don't feel like, because I think that's a reality, like, and it's not a hot take at like adults. Like, I think everybody's just doing the best that they can. But like, if you don't have someone to go to, like, be kind to your mind, start journaling, slowing down your thoughts and writing that out actually may bring, some clarity or relief of some sort.
I love that. That's beautiful.
Whoa, I was not expecting that.
Yeah, like, can you not?
Welcome to my crying world.
Welcome to my
Guys, I'm the crybaby, so like, welcome to my world.
Yeah.
I want to end us off, guys. A lot of this reflection, like, genuinely has been happening live at this table. I've spoken about these things privately with my friends before, but speaking it to you guys who have just come into my life for the very first time in the last year, speaking to the camera, speaking to the internet, I've done healing on it, but it just shows like it's never fully done.
Yeah.
Like we're still
Ongoing.
processing, we're still learning, and we're learning through conversation. So I encourage anybody that has been holding on to something, if you've been scared to share it, just what Jess said, like say it out loud to a trusted person, whether it's a family member, a friend, a teacher that you trust, like a colleague, a coworker, just somebody. I think once you get it out, that's the first step to healing. And that's also the first step of acceptance, accepting that there is something to address and there is something to work on. So I want to encourage that to all of you. I promise you it's been healing for me. It's been healing for all of us at this table, actually. And I'm so grateful for you guys for giving us a safe space. But I encourage you to find a safe space, and I encourage you to also be a safe space. We need more safe spaces, and someone in your life might need you and might need you to support them and encourage them. So I hope
With a very heavy heart.
we hope you guys have opened up. I hope we've been able to open you guys up and be more comfortable in talking about some tough shit.
Yeah.
Honestly.
And you're not alone.
You're not alone.
Clearly.
You're
Not alone.
We love you.
We love you guys. Hugs! Oh, group hug. Sorry, I knocked the mic. Got excited. Oh, all right.
Wow.
That was an amazing episode. I
That was.
knew this was going to be deep, You know, we didn't know where it was going to land. But yeah, super grateful for you guys. I hope you guys are able to take something away. We're going to lighten it up next week. It won't always be so deep. But you know where to find us. We love you. Mahal. Until next time. Ingat.
Amping.
Bye.